What's up, guys? Okay, so second part of learning Maya. Here we go. We learned this little section here. Very quick overview of this quick before we move on. So I have a single view here. If I click on that, that's a single view. Click on this, it turns it into four different views: perspective, top, front, and side. This opens up two views: perspective, front Z, and this opens up my outliner, a front and a perspective view. Now you can customize this the way you want. They've just given you these kind of things. If I click on the front one again, it gives me a full-blown thing. I can take my outliner off and I can take it away, close it. Now another thing, if I click on my spacebar very quickly, boom, I get what was there last. Okay, so if I click on there and I've got my one view, I click on my four view, and then I just click whatever window I am on, boom, it'll take me to that one. Okay, so here we go. So it takes me to the single one, click it again, and I'm back to my four sides. Okay, this is very useful. You're going to use this a lot to check out different things and make sure when you want to be pretty accurate with things. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I thought I'd quickly go over these. You can customize it the way you want. If I go into the middle here, I can pull them to the sides. I can go from the top and bottom. I can do whatever I want. You can customize it how you want to. Okay, those are these little things. So we've covered all of this. This here, if I click on it, it takes me off to the Maya page. We don't need that right now. So that's what the little M there does. Okay, then you get your timeline down here. Boom. Okay, we'll cover that more. This over here says starting from what frames and ending on what frames. Okay, so this is 120. You can see this little bar here it goes up to 120 here. I can increase this bar because I got a 200 range there. So if I click this little button over there and drag it, it'll give me my full 200 frames. Okay, I can change this. I can change this to 400 if I want, whatever frame rate you want, and then I can either drag this or I can drag, just type 400 in there, and it takes me to 400 in my timeline. Okay, so that's what that is. This is how you control these. I can grab from either side. If I want to work on, like if you've got a very long animation, 1,000 frames or something, I can lock in to the area that I want to, and if I hit play, it'll loop on those frames. So if I'm working on a specific little animation at a specific point in time, I can just lock it down onto those frames and just see how those frames go. Okay, we'll go over that more when we start animating. Over here, this is like a quick Mel script, Python script. If I click it, it changes to Python, Mel. I can write in little scripts over here if I want to. And over here, this little thing over here brings up my script editor. Don't worry about this. We will get back to this. Okay. Then continuing over here. Okay, these are your animation layers. We'll get to that. Character sets. We'll get to that. This is your play from beginning button. If I hit that one or that one, it takes it to the end. Takes it to the beginning of your range. This is going forward and back a frame. And this is going back and forward to a set keyframe. So let me quickly create a polygon cube. I'm just going to quickly put a keyframe on this, like there. I'm hitting S on the keyboard. Don't do that because it keys in all your channels. I'm just doing it so I can show you guys. If I click this button now, you see it jumps to the different keyframes. Boom. I can go all the way back and it'll jump to the one at the very end, or forward, and it just goes to it goes to the next keyframe. And then this is play backwards, stop, play forwards, backwards, forwards, stop. Okay, now down here what we get, auto keyframe toggle. So if I've got that on, I can literally probably move this around and it sets an automatic keyframe. Never used that in my life before. Okay, this little button over here is your settings. If I click on that, I get all the settings that Maya can give me, and we will go through all these as we need them. Okay, the ones that you need right now is probably your undo. Make sure, I usually just set it on infinite, make sure how much memory or whatever you've got, but I leave it on infinite just in case. And my settings, I usually use centimeters, degrees, and film 24 ps. So film is 24 frames, and if you're doing like adverts or TV or YouTube or whatever, 25 frames is good. Okay, so everything 25 frames pretty much, unless you're using film. If you're working on film, 24 frames a second or whatever they give you. Okay, so that's pretty much all that. We'll go through these as we need them. There's a lot of settings there. So we know what all of this does. We will get back to writing little mel scripts and whatnot. This is kind of just tells you what's happening. If I do something, if I create a polygon cube, it'll say to me result polygon cube. In my script editor, it will show me, somewhere here really. It'll tell me that I've created a polygon cube. So if I erase all this and I scale my cube, it'll write the mel command for me. So if I take this command in here and I copy it and I put it in my mel and I just make that smaller again and I just paste it in there and I hit enter, it'll do the exact same thing. Okay, so this is kind of like a massive history of what you're doing. Whatever I do gets documented. Okay, if I rotate, boom, it's telling me everything I'm doing. Okay, this is pretty awesome because I use this a lot. If you want to create like your own scripts, like a set of commands, if you create like a cube and you move it and you want it like that, something like that, and you rotate it, and then it gives you a whole list. You can grab that entire list and make a little button for it that when you press it, it runs through all these commands and it creates exactly what this cube looks like right now here. So pretty useful. For now, let's go into here. So we've got like this bar of all these things that we may use. Okay, curves, surfaces. This is if you want to use all your curves and points. We'll get onto curves and NURBS and whatnot. This is a shelf to quickly get icons full of things that you want to get to quickly. Polygons, you can see I can just click on that, create a cube, click on that, create a sphere, and so on and so on. And then we can start getting to SVG, your texts, and different things that you can do, your extrusions, your point creation, your blah 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 blah. Okay, we'll get to all of these. And it's the same with all these sculpting. If you want to jump there quickly and you want to start sculpting something, rigging, animation, rendering, effects, everything. This is a custom one, so you can put your own ones there. So let's say I use Windows and I want my node editor there, so I don't have to go there all the time. I can hold down Shift, Control, and just click it, and it appears in my Customs tab. Okay, now you can do it on any of these tabs, but the custom one is pretty much where you put all your things in. So I can quickly jump to the outliner, I can leave this tab open, jump to the UV editor, whatever I want. Here's my new node editor. So that's it. If I right click on it, I can just say delete or edit or whatnot. Okay, and it's the same with all these. There's my Arnold. This is for all rendering, Bifrost, Mesh, motion graphics, Rebus. Okay, that's a render farm, XGen, and Turtle, which is another renderer. Okay, so we've got all these things. They're all cool. Now we just, we'll jump to these when we need them. As we start learning, you'll see we'll start jumping to the different ones that we need. Okay, so that's all this is, which is exactly the same as these sets. Okay, these sets may have a few more options, but pretty much the same. So here we go. If I go to my, we're in modeling now. Okay, so if I go to modeling, there's all my different things I can do. And if I go to polygons, boom, it's pretty much a lot of it's there. Okay, I've got mesh, booleans, combined, separate, everything there. Don't know if I've all that here, but okay, so that's just a menu. It's a quick menu to get to the places that you want if you're going to be using these things. XGen, here's all your keys. I can create a new XGen. I can create new hairs. I can groom them. I can do whatever I want with it over here. Okay. So let's just go up here quickly. This will give you the different sets that you want to work in. Animation, effects, you see, it gives you different things up here. And these, all these menus will be related to effects or animation or rigging or modeling. Okay. So that's pretty much what that does. This is all your usual stuff: create new scenes, open, save, blah 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 blah. And then you get these two. Let me open up. So when you see a little arrow or that, the arrow means you can open them up. Okay, it opens up new options. This closes options. Okay, so you can just click on an arrow and it'll give you new options. So here's all your icons. Okay, so you know these are selecting by hierarchy. Hierarchy. Jeez, like this is your object mode. I don't ever use this. I've never used this in my life. This is object mode. Okay, and this is component mode. So what are the two differences between these two? You can see once I click that, I've got different options here, and once I click this, I've got different options there. We'll go over these, okay? Don't worry. Object mode, if I create a polygon cube, and it's got a green outline and I can move the entire thing, that's object mode, okay? This is complete object mode. I'm just going back to my channel box editor. Let's try and move this away. So it's usually got a green outline. If I select it, there's a green outline on it. Component mode is different. It's blue and it gives me either faces, or if I right click and hold down, I get options for that thing. I can go to vertices, which I can select the vertices. Right click, hold down edge, and I can select the edges. You see that? If I hold down shift, I can select multiple edges. Sometimes it gets in your way, these things, and that's when the select helps. It minuses everything. You don't have these helpers on your screen, and it just allows you to select easier. Okay, so that's what component mode is. Component mode is where you start going in and adjusting points, faces, or edges of your polygon, your mesh, or whatever it is. Okay, if I hold down right mouse button, I get the options of that, and if I want to just select it, boom, I'm back into component mode, object mode for now. Okay, if I want to flip between the two, I can go up here and just select that. That's object mode, component mode, and that's how we switch between the two. Okay, we will get into this. I'm basically just going over the surface so we can get into it, so we can go through what these things are. Now for each of these you get different options. We will go over those, don't worry. And then it's just your snapping. If I click on this, it turns into that circle and it's snapping to my grid. If I do this, okay, this is snapping to curves. We don't have any curves. This is snapping to points. We don't have any points. Okay. If I duplicate this, then I do have a point. Then I'm using the points of that other polygon. You see, because these are all points. Boom, that's a point, that's a point, that's a point. Okay, so now it's moving on the center of this. It's moving along the points. Okay. Okay, projected center, snap into view planes. Okay, so a lot of these things I don't particularly use. I probably should, but you know, you guys can go over these and see what you like and what you don't like. Okay, and this is making something live. I will show you how to make something live. You can't select it once it is live. This one's live, this one's not, this one is live. Now when you're working in live mode, it allows you to do many things to it, like create curves that attach directly on the surfaces of your objects and stuff. But we'll get back to that. There's a lot of cool things you can do with live mode. Okay, now for something like this, this opens up your render settings. This is your render settings here. If I click it, it opens up my render settings. You can choose what renderer you want over here, and you can set up all its settings, which we'll go through when we get to rendering. This is your shaders. So if I open up that, it opens up a hyper shader. This is where we're going to create all the shaders for our geometry. Okay, and so on and so on. IPR renderer. If I click IPR, I don't know why these things aren't working, but they should be, but they're not. This opens up your last render view. This renders your current viewport, and IPR is a real-time renderer where it tries to show you exactly what your your renders are looking like it's on the fly. So if I'm moving this around, it'll update in real time. It'll try to anyway. Okay, and then you'll sign in. Okay, I don't know who uses that. Then on the side over here, you get a couple of things. This is kind of like your, what do they call it? It's your modeling toolkit. So this is the new modeling toolkit in Maya. It's really cool. It's really powerful. We'll go over all of these kind of things. This works quite nice with objects being live to recreate or retopologize meshes or whatnot. This is your character setup, so we can create quick skeletons and rigs for characters. Okay, these are all your attributes for whatever you've got selected. Boom, boom. You can see here, you can go through your, it's got everything that is attached to that cube, all the nodes that are attached to that cube. You've got your PC cube, your shape one, where you've got lots of options, polycube, initial shading group, and your actual shader. Okay, if I change the colors, you can see they change along with it. And then you get your tool settings. Okay, so your tool settings, if I wanted to, I could pretty much just double click a tool setting and I get it. Okay, this one's for rotate, this one's for scale, and you can change object, world mode, component. We will get into all of that. We're just going through the icons now, so you know what this is. And then finally, it's your what do they call this? Channel box and layer editor. Okay, so channel box is where everything, your nice little options I told you about in the tutorial before, where you can change your translate, rotate, scales, visibilities and everything. And then you get your display, renderer and animation. Okay, so your display would be if I wanted to hide this, if I got this box and there's a lot of other boxes around it and I can't really get to it anymore, I can take these boxes, I can hit this little button here, create a layer with those selected, and it creates a layer. Now I can hide those boxes and I can get to this one easy. It helps you keep order in your scenes, a hell of a lot of order in your scenes. So I mean, if I've got a couple of layers, so if I take that one and I put this one in its own layer, then I've got that layer, I've got that layer. Obviously I can rename them, double click and call it cube. Okay, so there's my cube, that's the one cube, and let's call this one cubes. Okay, you can assign different colors to them and whatnot. It's all good, and you can show them and hide them. Okay, so that's really cool. Now if I wanted to move cubes above cube, I can just do that. Select it, press the up or down button, and it does that for me. This over here, what is this? Create a new layer. Okay, so I can create new layers like this. I don't use that. I use this. I use this because it's whatever I selected. I mean, if you want to, you can create a new layer like this, but nothing goes in that layer. You can see I've got that cube selected, but I can assign things to that layer. So if I take that cube and I right click and I can say add selected groups, objects, sorry, and now that's in there. Okay, and the rest is all where it needs to be. So this is just making everything as neat as possible. Okay, we'll go into this when we start working with a lot of things. We're going to be using this extensively. Okay, your render, this is your different render layers and render scenes. Maya 2017 has got a new one. It's a complicated little thing. We will get into that a little later. There's not amazing documentation on it, but there are a lot of confusing videos out there on it. Anyway, I do use it. We will get into videos of that later. And then your animation, you can animate with layers, which is amazing. It's incredible. So if I've got this little cube and I keyframe it quick and I move it a little bit forward, keyframe it quick, I've got this thing doing that. Remember this whole thing where I can grab this and take it down to there and take this side. Now I've only got the selected, see that? Now I've just got those selected frames. Boom. Okay, and the beauty of this is if I got that selected, I create a new layer. Now I've got another animation layer on top of that, so I can start keying that one totally separate to the last one. So now look, now if I mute it, mute the layer, now it just gives me my original animation. And if I unmute that layer, now I've got both layers of animation affecting this cube. And I can carry on going. I can create as many layers as I want. And at the end of the day, I can shift select them all, right click, and I can say merge layers, which then Maya does go through and merges it into one layer. Boom. And it sets keyframes for every single frame. Okay, we'll get back into all this later. So what have we covered? We've covered basic things of the layout of Maya, what all these little things. I mean, you've got your workspaces here, which you can go between modeling standard, modeling expert. These things, you know, go over and check yourself. This sets it up nicely for sculpting. But I'm going to go back to Maya Classic for now, and you can just go through all these. They've just given you different layouts, customized layouts, which you can do yourself, but they've given you a lot so you can just jump in and get started. Okay, so we've gone through a lot of these things, not in detail, and now we'll start going through polygons and modeling and the different aspects of those things. Now that we've got these things, let's start getting into that. One last thing is, if you press spacebar, remember quickly you jump into those things. If I hold down spacebar, I get this entire thing here, boom. But for all of them, for all these things, all in one, hold down spacebar and you've got everything. You've got your skeletons, your polygons, your meshes, your fracture, you got everything here. Okay, and then you can quickly, with holding spacebar, you can click and choose whatever you need to choose. Okay, and that's it. Boom, hold down Maya and I can get to my different views very quickly, which is cool. And there's a lot of other little hotkeys and boxes and whatnot, but we'll go over them. Okay, the next things we'll go through is, once we start using it, we'll start going through these things in each of these layers. You get those. If I just go to my one, all these little icons and stuff, very useful. They're just quick keys. They're a repetition of everything that we can use in all these other ones, but they just kind of put them there because you would use these a lot over here. Okay, while you're animating, while you're doing things, it allows you to do things really quickly. Okay, one last thing I wanted to go over is your numbers. 1 does nothing. 2 smooths your object but still gives you your original bounding box what it is. If I hit 3, it takes away that bounding box, so I can smooth my geometry. This will become a lot better and clearer later on when we start modeling something proper and we want to see it, view it smoothed quickly. Okay, so that's what that does. If I hit 1 again, it takes it back to normal. 2, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 4 gives me a wireframe. Okay, if you want to match something nicely, I can go to my wireframe and I can see that that's working. Okay, remember, this is just hitting V and I'm snapping it to a point. So if I want total accuracy with things like this, I can get it and I can see what's happening in that underbelly. Okay, that's 4. 5 is shaded mode. 6 is textures. If I had any textures on this, let's just do that quickly. Let's assign a new material to that one. Let's put a blend on it. Let's go to Lambert and let's just take a color. Let's take a checkerboard. Okay, fine. So 5 is just shaded. 6 is your textures. 7 is your lighting. Just a quick directional. Now you can start seeing your lights on these things. Okay, so 1, nothing, it unsmooths everything. 2, smoothed with a box. 3, smoothed. 1 again is unsmoothed. 4, wireframe. 5, shaded. 6 is your textures. 7 is your textures and lighting and everything else. Okay, cool. Thanks for joining me on this one. Let's get into something more cool now. Now that we know the interface a little better, what we can do, that you're not too lost with it. As we carry on going, we'll put all these pieces together. Okay, we'll learn a hell of a lot more on these things, and we won't be, if you're confused at the moment, cool. It's totally normal. It's massive. It's a huge program, but at least you shouldn't be that confused now with, okay, so these are my menus, these are quick sets, these are just tools above here for my rendering and stuff, my tools to move, rotate, scale, my different viewports, different layouts to help me in a specific menu, and your attributes and everything over here, which we will go in properly, you know, layers, hiding things, rendering, animation layers, etc. Your timeline and your little mel script commands where you can put them also in here. Boom. You can put all your scripts in here or here. This just kind of tells you what's happening, what you're doing, what you've done, any error reports and all that stuff. Your timeline, how big, how small it is. You can type in the numbers of how long you want your frames to be, and we can continue. And now that we've okay, now we've got a base animation over here. If we added another one, boom, you can start going between. It's just a quick way of getting to your different layer animations. Okay, over here. Now that we've got a couple character sets, we don't have any character sets. Once we do, we will get to those two. Okay, well, I hope you learned something here, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.